What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of MLB action here on Tuesday, May 28th. We had a solid bounce back day there, guys. On Monday, things worked out for us pretty well. We hit the Orioles minus 146. That was absolutely no sweat at all. The Royals couldn't quite come through for us. They ended up losing by one. When you have an underdog pick at plus 145, lose by only a single run, don't think we can be too upset about that. We saw Toronto minus 1.5. That one came through pretty comfortably. The Brewers minus 112. That one came through as well. That was one of our biggest bet, or actually definitely our biggest bet of the day there. And the Rockies plus 122. We ended up swerving on that one because Gomber ended up not starting, but that pick still came through. Anybody that took that one anyway came away with a win, so we'll take that one too, an underdog there. And the Cardinals won plus 115. They could only score a single run, I believe, there against the Cincinnati Reds. Yeah, they lost 3-1 in that game, so not too happy about that, but 4-2 overall. We'll definitely take that. Let's try and keep things rolling here with a full Tuesday slate. First, do me a big favor, guys, and hit that like button. It's a great way to show some support for the channel and all the work we put in here every single day. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. It's 100% free and can keep you from missing out on these picks. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with all the bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We respond to absolutely every single comment, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our final picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day, game one of the doubleheader between the LA Dodgers and the New York Mets. The Dodgers come into this game not looking too great, guys. They've been probably the most hated team down there in the comments and one of the most hated teams in the whole baseball betting community over this 5-game losing streak they've gone on. They are still 33-22 on the season, and in game one of this little doubleheader they're going to play here as a makeup game situation, they're reportedly going to be handing the ball to Tyler Glasnow, who's 6-3 on the season with a 3.09 ERA. He's coming off of a kind of mediocre, not terrible, but not amazing start there against the Arizona Diamondbacks. It was a game we saw the Dodgers lose 6-0, so not great on that count. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits and 3 earned runs. He struck out 6 and walked 1, so yeah, not an amazing outing, but not a complete disaster. Usually if you see a starter giving up 3 runs for the Dodgers, they're still in very good shape to win those games, but man, right now they're just not hitting the ball well. Like things, like the wheels are coming off for the Dodgers, it feels like with a team that's this talented, this deep, obviously I expect them to get back on track at some point, but they've scored 1-1, 6-0, and 3 runs over their last 5 games, all of which have been losses. We do expect this team to get back on track. The question just is, when is that going to happen? They're still second in the majors in runs scored. They're still eventually going to be one of the best 2 or 3 offenses in the majors. There's no way this slump continues for long enough that doesn't happen, but we'll see what they do here against the New York Mets, who also haven't been having a great time. They did just win 4-3 there in their last game against the San Francisco Giants, so give them some credit for that one, but that win snapped a 5-game losing streak. They're handing the ball in game 1 of this doubleheader apparently to Tyler Megill. He's 0-2 on the season with a 3 ERA. He's only making his 3rd start of the season. His first 2 have been against pretty tough opponents. He's faced the Brewers and the Cleveland Guardians, with that start against the Guardians being on the road and that start against the Brewers being at home. Against the Brewers, he went 4 innings, gave up a single earned run, but 2 runs overall on 3 hits. Only 4 innings, though. That's a little concerning, even in your first start of the season. Then in his second start, he went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. 2 of them were earned against the Guardians. Both of those games were losses for the Mets, who have been pretty bad offensively. They come into this game not exactly swinging the hottest bats, guys. I mean, they did have a game against the Giants that they lost 8-7, so obviously scored some runs in that one, but this is not a great offensive team, guys. They're 19th in the majors in runs scored. They are down to 20th in the majors in slugging percentage, 18th in batting average, batting .236 as a squad. Just not great numbers. I mean, they're 18th in on-base percentage, getting on base at a 308 clip. This is not a good offensive team, so we're not surprised to see the odds makers are big on the Dodgers in this game. They've got the Dodgers at minus 215, the Mets at plus 180, and we've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. We see both of these teams showing small trends towards the over. We see the Dodgers are only 13-11 on the road, but the Mets are only 11-16 at home, so not a great home number. And if you're really feeling this bounce back here from the Dodgers, if you take them minus 1.5, you can get them at minus 128, which is not super appealing to me. Guys, I think this is going to be mostly a stay away from me spot. If you wanted to go ahead and back the Mets, assuming that the Dodgers long struggles, this 5-game losing streak is going to continue, I guess you could, but mostly this is a game that's going to be a stay away spot for me. You could lean towards the Dodgers if you think they're going to bust out of this slump, but just not enough information for me on this one. If you're forcing me to bet this game, go ahead and give me the over 8.5, just playing those trends, but yeah, this is going to be a no bet situation for me. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Boston Red Sox going on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. Boston took the 11-3 loss in Game 1 of this series. They're now down to 27-27 on the season, so back at 500. They're hitting the ball in this game to Brian Bello, who is 5-2 on the year with a 4.04 ERA, and coming off of a kind of decent start, I guess, against the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, he went 6 innings, which is good, but he gave up 3 earned runs on 4 hits, and he walked 4 in that game. Like, that's not exactly the kind of numbers you're looking at or looking for if you want to see a dominant outing. And his start before that was very bad against the light-hitting St. Louis Cardinals. So this is not somebody we look at like the top of their game right now. It doesn't seem like he's throwing the ball amazing. And with the way the Boston's hitters are looking lately, guys, you got to be pitching pretty well out there, because over their last 4 games, they've scored 3, 2, 3, and 2 runs respectively. That's just not great. That's not going to get the job done. This has been a pretty average looking offense kind of overall this season. Maybe not quite overall, but just hasn't been looking great. I mean, they're 14th in the majors in on-base percentage, 13th in the majors in runs scored. Like, this is not an elite offensive team right now, not swinging the hottest bats coming into this game, and you're going to need to score some runs here going up against the Baltimore Orioles, who come into this game on a 5-game winning streak, absolutely dominant, putting up 11 runs in Game 1 of this series. Have to be feeling great about that. They're hitting the ball in this game to Grayson Rodriguez, who's 5-1 on the season with a 3.20 ERA, so they're definitely never going to be sad to be handing him the ball. He's coming off a very good start against the White Sox, a team that some starting pitchers will kind of take a little bit off of, it seems like, and have not great outings against, but he went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits and 2 earned runs. He did walk 5 in that game, so his control was definitely lacking, but he had 7 strikeouts, and it was a game his team won 8-6, and the start before that, he gave up only a single hit over 6 innings to the Seattle Mariners. Start before that, he gave up 5 hits and no runs to the Yankees. Like, this dude has been throwing the ball pretty well. He did miss some time there. This is his second start back off the injury list, so definitely happy to see him healthy, and I'm sure the Orioles are also. The Orioles have to be very stoked with how their offense is looking right now. They're 7th in the majors in runs scored. Their team batting average is up to 242, which is great considering they're slugging the ball at a 436 clip. Like, this team can absolutely kill it. They can pile up runs on you in a heartbeat. We've got Gunnar Henderson with 17 home runs and batting 260 on the season. We saw Kyle Stellers have 4 home runs in that game, like in Game 1 of this series. So this team is swinging some great bats right now. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the odds makers are very high on the Orioles, but maybe not crazy high, because they've got the Orioles at minus 158. They've got the Red Sox at plus 142, and we've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. Boston is 16-12 on the road, which is pretty respectable, but we do see Baltimore as 18-10 at home. We also see Baltimore showing like the biggest trends in the majors to the over, which still isn't great. They're 27-20-5 to the over. Boston is an under team. We're not really interested in the over-under in this game, guys. We are, however, interested in the Orioles minus 158. Good chance we'll be riding with the Orioles 2 straight games. I mean, 158 isn't the most amazing price, but I don't have enough faith in them to take them against the run line. So 158 on Baltimore is definitely my lean in this one. We'll have to see if it ends up in the pinned comment. Next up, guys, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates going on the road to take on the Detroit Tigers. We saw the Pirates take the 8-1 loss there in their last game of the series against the Atlanta Braves. They are up to 25-29 on the season, which, yeah, it seems weird to say up to, but that is an up to number for them. Things have gotten pretty dark here down the stretch for the Pirates. They're handing the ball in this game to Jared Jones, who's been one of their kind of bright spots, at least. I mean, the dude's 3-4 in the season with a 3.05 ERA. He's coming off his second start in a row, giving up at least 3 earned runs, but also going at least 6 innings. So he looked pretty good out there against the Giants. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs. I mean, I don't know. It's not great, guys, and he hasn't been throwing the ball amazing. Over his last 3 starts, he's given up 1 home run in each of those starts, giving up at least 3 runs in each of those starts. He's had some walks mixed in there. He's gone at least 6 innings in every game, so you can pretty much pencil this guy in for 6 innings, but man, is he going to be able to keep the opponents off the board? It's kind of hard to say that he's going to do that, and you need to pitch pretty well here for the Pirates if you're going to win games for them, because they're not a great offensive team. I mean, they're 23rd in the majors in on-base percentage, and they're not looking as bad at the plate as they looked in the in the last couple weeks where things got very, very dark, or maybe even the last month overall. Like, things just haven't been looking that great for the Pirates. We don't see anybody hitting the ball particularly well for them. I mean, obviously they're coming off of a game that they lost 8-1, so there's not going to be a lot of great offensive news coming from a game where you scored 1 run. So not super high on the Pirates offense in this game, and they're going to need to find a way to produce something here against the Tigers, who are playing very well. They won Game 3 of their series against the Toronto Blue Jays 14-11, so that had to feel pretty crazy. They won 3 straight coming into this game. They're only 26-27 on the season, so this is definitely a team that still has some issues, but they've got to be pumped to be hitting the ball in this game to Tyreek Skubal, who's 6-1 on the season with a 2.25 ERA. He's in something of a bounce-back spot after having one of his worst starts of the season. Yeah, guys, listen to this run line, or this whole thing, and tell me that this sounds like somebody's worst start of the season. He went 5 innings, gave up 6 hits and 4 earned runs while striking out 6 and walking 2. and that's been this guy's worst outing this season. At least that's what it feels like to me. He has been lights out this year. He had a great start against the Yankees. He hasn't struggled against good opponents, so he's been looking very, very good, and now he's in something of a bounce back spot. And the Tigers' offense, it seems like it's always in a bounce back spot, but not this time, guys. They're coming off of a game where they scored 14 runs, so that definitely helps boost some of those numbers, but this is still a slightly below average, at least slightly below average offensive team. 18th in the majors in runs scored, 21st in on-base percentage. They didn't have a ton of offense against Toronto in that series before they... oh, wait, I lied, guys. They didn't sweep Toronto. They won 3 out of 4, but still very, very respectable. They only scored 1 run in game 1 of that series, but then scored 6, 2, and 14. So they'll definitely take that, but not an offense that you can super-duper count on. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see that we've got the Pirates at plus 130. We've got the Tigers at minus 146. We've got an over-under in this game of 7. We see Pittsburgh is 13 and 14 on the road. Detroit is 13 and 14 at home. So nothing to really glean from that. We do see both teams showing slight trends towards the over, but with Jones and Skubal out there, I definitely don't have the guts to bet the over in this game. Yeah, guys, I think this is just a pretty evenly matched spot. I think I'm going to slide slightly towards the Tigers minus 146 in this one because Skubal's in a bounce back spot, and I don't have any faith in the Pirates' bats, but this seems like a very close, very tough game to me. I doubt we'll be on it at all. Next on the docket, guys, we got the St. Louis Cardinals going on the road to take on the Cincinnati Reds. We saw the Cardinals disappoint us there, guys, taking the 3-1 loss in game 1 of this series to fall to 25 and 27 on the season. They're hitting the ball in this game to Kyle Gibson, who's 3-2 on the year with a 3.81 ERA. He's coming off a very weird start against the Baltimore Orioles, part of that like weird whole like a very odd series against the Orioles that the Cardinals just had not too long ago, and he went 4 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 runs, but none of them were earned while striking out 3 and walking none. So, I mean, I guess he pitched okay in that game. I mean, it is the Orioles, so we'll cut him a little bit of slack, but his start before that, he got absolutely shelled by the Boston Red Sox, so I'm not really super high on Kyle Gibson right now, although he hasn't been terrible this season, so I don't know. We'll give the guy a little bit of credit, and we also give the Cardinals bats some credit. They've been good lately, but not so much last time. They only scored a single run that was on a Paul Goldschmidt's home run, so they'll definitely take that. His bat is seemingly to come alive here. He's got 3 home runs over the last 2 games, and man, he's been overdue because he has not gotten off to a good start whatsoever this season. But overall, the Cardinals bats definitely trending in a positive direction. I mean, over their last 6 games, they've scored 1, 4, 7, 5, 3, and 6 runs. That's definitely a lot better than this team was looking at the plate early in the season. So they're hoping they can keep things rolling at the plate here against Cincinnati Reds, who are coming alive here. They've now won 4 in a row. They swept the Dodgers in that crazy series, then won 3-1 in game 1 of this series, but they're only 24 and 30 on the season. Handing the ball in this game to Andrew Abbott, who's 3-4 on the year with a 2.68 ERA, and he's coming off of a great start against the San Diego Padres. He went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits, no runs, walked 1, only struck out 2. Not a huge strikeout guy. He did have an 8 strikeout appearance against Baltimore at the beginning of this month, but in general, he's been looking very, very good lately. Very, very good over his last 4 starts, and that includes outings against the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, and the Baltimore Orioles. So the Reds definitely have to feel pretty good about putting Abbott out there on the mound, and yeah, they probably are feeling a little bit better here about their offense, but not great. I mean, over this little 4-game winning streak, they've scored 3, 4, 3, and 9 runs, respectively. So obviously a 9-run outburst is great, but other than that, not getting over 4 isn't amazing. They're 20th in the majors in runs scored, but they are near worst in the majors in terms of team batting average. Guys, they're batting 218 as a team. They're getting on base at a 299 clip. That's 26th in the majors. This is just not a very good hitting team, which is a little bit embarrassing given the ballpark that they play the majority of their games in. So that can't feel awesome. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Cardinals at plus 105, the Reds at minus 116. We've got an over-under in this game of 9.5, so the odds makers are definitely expecting some offense in this game. The Cardinals are only 12 and 15 on the road, but the Reds are only 14 and 15 at home. Guys, this is another tough one. I'm not 100% sure which way to go. I mean, I'm definitely leaning towards the Reds minus 116 to win another game. I mean, they're the hot team right now. Very little faith for me in Kyle Gibson at the moment, but he's been good against bad opponents, so maybe he'll have a good outing here against a very mediocre Reds offense. But yeah, not really sure which way to go with this one. Definitely not interested in over 9.5. I mean, we see St. Louis and Cincinnati both showing slight trends towards the under, and I don't think either one of these starting pitchers is terrible. So if you're forcing me to bet this game on the side, I'll take the Cincinnati Reds, and you're forcing me to bet the over-under, I'll take the under, but neither one of those is going in the pinned comment for me. Next up, guys, we're looking at the LA Dodgers taking on the New York Mets in Game 2 of their doubleheader. We've got confirmed starters for this one, so we're pretty confident in who we're going to see out there on the mound, so we can at least go ahead and talk about this one. Not going to go over it too in-depth. I mean, obviously, we're going to see the Dodgers. Everything remains the same except for the starting pitchers. We've got Gavin Stone going out there for the Dodgers. He's been pretty good. He's 4-2 in the season with a 3.60 ERA, but he's not coming off his best outing. He got knocked around pretty well by the Arizona Diamondbacks his last time out, giving up 8 hits, 4 earned runs. He had a home run in that start, so not amazing, but prior to that, he'd been lights out, and we've also seen the Dodgers go 4-1 over his last 5 starts, so that's pretty nice. He's looked very, very good this season. No way around that, and obviously we know all the other stuff about the Dodgers offense. We're not going to rehash all of that. Obviously, they're one of the best offenses in the majors, and they're hoping they can get back on track here going up against the Mets, who are coming off that one win, and they're handing the ball in this one to Jose Quintana, who's 1-4 in the season with a 5.13 ERA, but he's coming off a couple of serviceable starts. I mean, his last time out, he looked good against the Cleveland Guardians. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, 3 earned runs. He did give up a home run in that outing, which isn't amazing, but we've also seen him get his control issues under control. He hasn't walked a batter over his last 2 starts, and facing the Guardians and the Phillies, not the easiest matchups. I mean, he went 5 1/3 against the Phillies, gave up 2 earned runs on 4 hits. That's definitely a solid outing against a team like the Phillies. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Dodgers are minus 162. The Mets are plus 136. We got an over-under of 8.5 here in Game 2. And guys, this is another tough one to figure out. I mean, obviously, a lot depends on how Game 1 goes in these doubleheader situations. I'm leaning towards the Dodgers once again in this game just by a little bit. I have no faith in Jose Quintana, even though he's been decent lately. If we see the Dodgers bats get off to a good start in Game 1, I think that'll continue here in Game 2. So we'll just have to wait and see if this actually ends up in the pinned comment. But I'm leaning slightly towards the Dodgers, or this could be a stay away spot. I mean, the Mets are only 11-16 at home, so really tough to be leaning towards them at home. Moving right along, guys, we're looking at the Washington Nationals going on the road to take on the Atlanta Braves. Washington comes into this game fresh off an 8-4 win in Game 1 of this series. They're 24-28 on the season, so obviously not amazing, but we just saw CJ Abrams hit a home run. He's got to be feeling a little bit better, and yeah, they're handing the ball to Jake Irvin in this game. He's 2-5 on the season with a 3.79 ERA, but he's coming off a solid start against the Twins. He went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 earned runs. They were both home runs, so that's not ideal. But yeah, without those 2 mistakes, that would have been a fantastic outing. He struck out 6 in that game, a game that his team lost 3-2, though. So that probably doesn't feel great. The Nationals offense definitely coming alive here a little bit over, we'll say, their last 4 games. I mean, they scored 6, 3, 5, and 8 runs over their last 4. They'll definitely take that. This has not been an anywhere near league average offense, guys. They've been definitely in the bottom third, maybe even lower of the league. I mean, they're 26th in on-base percentage, 25th in on-base percentage. Not great. Not great at all. This is not an amazing offensive team, but they're swinging some hotter bats now, so that probably doesn't feel terrible, and they're taking on an Atlanta Braves team that's had a little bit of a struggle lately. They've lost 3 out of the last 4 games. They're down to 30-21 on the season. Handing the ball in this game to Max Fried, who's 4-2 on the year with a 3.38 ERA. He's coming off of a complete game effort against the Chicago Cubs, where he went 9 innings, gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, only 1 of them was earned while striking out 9. He's been very good this season, but we haven't seen him go that deep into a game before, and we have to question where he's going to be at after such a long outing. Did they stretch him out too far in that game? I've definitely got my questions about that. I mean, he had 9 strikeouts and no walks, so obviously he was absolutely dealing out there, but do you really want to leave him out there to try to get that complete game? I don't know. I'm not a major league manager, but that seems a little sketchy to me. He's not the youngest guy ever. He's 30, so I mean, I guess that's around the right time frame if you're going to let somebody stay out there for a long time. But yeah, some questions about that, and definitely some questions about where the Braves bats are at right now. I mean, they scored 4 runs in Game 1 of the series, 8 in the last game against the Pirates, but before that they scored 1 and 5 runs, and that 5 runs was in an 11-5 loss. So this is a team that's really swinging the hottest bats right now. I mean, we see Ozuna's numbers continue to fall. This team is all the way down to 7th in the majors in batting average. They're getting very, very banged up. I mean, the Acuna injury is not great. He's out for the season, ACL, that's it. So they're a lot to replace out there, a lot to replace for this team, and how are they going to do it in the middle of the season here? We'll just have to see. It's tough to say have a next man up mentality, but man, looking kind of tough out there. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the odds makers do not think it's going to be tough. They've got the Braves at minus 250, the Washington Nationals at plus 210. We've got an over-under of this game at 8.5. Guys, this feels kind of crazy. But we're siding with the Washington Nationals plus 210 in this game. Is this going to end up in the pinned comment? It's definitely got a chance. Guys, if you don't like big underdogs, I don't blame you. If you don't want to mix these into all the parlays and stuff like that you do, go ahead and leave it out. But I like the Nationals plus 210 in this spot. I think they're going to have a very solid chance to win this game. I think they definitely win this game much more often than that 210 price, would indicate. So give me the Nationals on the road in this game. They're playing well right now, and I think they're catching the Braves and Max Fried in a pretty good spot. Next up, guys, we got the Chicago Cubs going on the road to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cubs come into this game fresh off a 5-1 loss there in Game 1 of this series. They're down to 27-27 on the season, not having a good time at all. They've now lost 5 in a row. Yeah, this team is just floundering right now. They're handing the ball in this game to Ben Brown, who's 1-1 on the season with a 3.20 ERA. Coming off of a start against the Atlanta Braves, he's been in and out of the bullpen this season. In his 4 innings that he went up against the Atlanta Braves, he did look pretty good. He went 4 innings, 1 hit, 6 strikeouts, and 2 walks. He didn't give up any runs, so that's pretty good. And he's been looking good in general, but I mean, you can only expect the guy to go so far into the game. He hasn't made it past 4 innings basically at all this season. I mean, I guess he went slightly deeper than that in a start back on the 5th against the Mets. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what we actually get out of him, and it's definitely a wait and see what you're going to get out of the Cubs offense situation, because usually you're going to be waiting and you are going to be disappointed because this offense is not looking good right now. They're down to 25th in the majors, batting .288 as a squad, 16th in the majors in on-base percentage, so that's slightly better, but this is not a good power team at all. Over their last 5 or so games, they've scored 1, 3, 6, 0, 2, and 4 runs. Not great. This is not a good hitting team right now whatsoever, and they're going to need to score some runs here against the Milwaukee Brewers, who opened up this season with a win. We saw them we had a 3-run home run to extend the lead in that game, and yeah, this team is looking very, very good, and they can't feel too bad about handing the ball to Freddie Peralta, who's 3-3 on the year with a 3.81 ERA. He's coming off a very good start, a bounce-back start there against the Miami Marlins. He got no run support in that game, so they ended up losing that game 1-0, but he went 7 innings, gave up 4 hits and a single run while striking out 7 and walking 1. That is a fantastic outing, more like what we were seeing from him early in the season, and it looks like he's rounding back into form, guys, and the Brewers' bats seemed like a bounce-back situation. They didn't look bad in their series against Boston either. They scored 7, 6, 1, and now 5 runs over their last 4 games. Seems like they're a bit back on track. This has been a top 10 offense all season long, so we don't really expect that to change. They're 4th in the majors in batting average, 5th in the majors in slugging percentage. They're 6th in the majors in runs scored. This is a team that can hit the ball, no question about that, and it's not like they're going up against a very elite starter, so I'm pretty surprised to see the Cubs at plus 125, the Brewers at minus only 146, and an over-under in this game is 7.5. Guys, we are not going to overcomplicate things here. The Cubs are 12-16 on the road. The Brewers are 13-9 at home and seem like they are poised to dominate this series. Go ahead and give me the Milwaukee Brewers minus 146 in this game. This is definitely going in the pinned comment. Moving right along here, guys, we're looking at the Kansas City Royals going on the road to take on the Minnesota Twins. The Royals could not come through for us as an underdog there on Monday. They ended up losing that game 6-5, but over the course of the season, they've been looking pretty good. They're 34-21 on the year. They have lost 2 in a row, but they're handing the ball in this game to Cole Rangans, who's 4-3. He's got a 3.34 ERA, and he's coming off of back-to-back just dazzling shutout performances. He shut down the Oakland A's, going 7 innings, giving up 2 hits and striking out 7, not allowing a single run. Then he backed that up with a great start against the Tigers. He went 6 innings, gave 1 hit, 3 walks. He struck out 12 in that game. This guy is absolutely dealing right now. Sure, those aren't the toughest opponents, but really, are the Minnesota Twins one of the toughest opponents out here? That seems a little bit tough to me. And the Royals bats, while they didn't look amazing yesterday, they did generate 5 runs, and they made that thing tight there at the end. They only scored 1 run in their last game against the Tampa Bay Rays, but while this team might not be on the crazy heater that they were on, going on that long winning streak, I think this is still a very serviceable offensive team. I mean, there's a reason they're 4th in the majors in runs scored, 11th in the majors in slugging percentage. This is a good They're top 10 in on-base percentage, guys. This is a good offense. We have faith here in Salvador Perez to hit the ball, and yeah, this team is hoping they can get back on the winning track here against the Twins, who come into this game fresh off of that series opening win. They're going to be handing the ball in this game to Simeon Woods Richardson, who's 1-0 on the year with a 2.57 ERA, coming off of a good start against the Washington Nationals. I guess a couple good starts in a row, bounce backs from getting just destroyed by the Toronto Blue Jays. Against the Nationals his last time out, he went only 4 2/3 innings, so not super deep into the game. Gave up 3 hits, no runs, walked 1 and struck out 1. This dude does not have great strikeout stuff at all. He hasn't had, he's had 1 big strikeout performance in his last 5 games, and that was 8 strikeouts over 6 innings against the Seattle Mariners. Not exactly the toughest hitting team. So looking at the Twins offense in general right now, they're looking pretty good. I mean, they scored 6, 2, 5, 3, and 3 runs over their last 5 games, so not incredible stuff really, and this team is starting to look more like a league average or maybe below league league average offense right now. I mean, they're 23rd in the majors, batting .231 as a team. Like, that's not amazing. 22nd in the majors and on base percentage, also not great. I mean, this team, they've kind of been making hay against some weak opponents lately. I mean, when they faced the Guardians and the Yankees over a 6-game span, they went 0-6 in there. So, yeah, not a squad that I have a ton of faith in. And looking at the numbers for this game, we see the Royals are -120, the Twins are +108, and we've got an over-under in this game of 8. Guys, I don't have all that much faith here in Simeon Woods Richardson. I mean, yeah, just not that much faith. He's not impressed me too much. He's not going super deep into games. He's had trouble with teams like the Toronto Blue Jays. Rangans has looked good even against, some solid teams, and he looks elite lately, like a crazy elite. We see the Royals are only -120. Guys, we're going to go with it. Even though the Royals are only 13-13 on the road, we see Minnesota's only 14-12 at home. So go ahead and give me the Royals -120 in this one. This is definitely a huge favorite to end up in the pinned comment plays. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the Toronto Blue Jays going on the road to take on the Chicago White Sox. We saw Toronto come through for us. We had the Blue Jays -1.5 yesterday. They won game 1 of this series 5-1. So that was nice of them. They're handing the ball in this game to Kevin Gausman, who is 3-3 on the season with a 4.47 ERA. He's coming off a very good start against the Tigers, though. He went 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, only a single earned run. His start before that against the Tampa Bay Rays wasn't awful. He did give up 8 hits, but only 3 earned runs, so managed to pitch himself out of trouble pretty well in that game. He did have a terrible start against the Twins back on the 11th, but other than that, this month he's been very good. Definitely got to give the guy some credit for how he's looked out there in the mound lately. And the Blue Jays offense, while it's maybe not looking great, definitely trending in a positive direction. I mean, 5 runs in game 1 of this series. We saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's looking good. He's got his batting average up to almost 300. This team, they're only 25th in the majors in runs scored, but they're 12th in the majors in on-base percentage. So I do expect this offense to continue to trend in a positive direction here for quite a while. We'll see what they actually do, but seems like they're pointed in the right direction to me, and they're hoping they can keep things rolling here against the White Sox, who've now lost 6 in a row. So that can't feel great. They're handing the ball in this game to Mike Clevenger, who's 0-3 on the season with a 6.75 ERA, and coming off not a great start against the Baltimore Orioles. He's actually had kind of a tough way to go over his 4 starts this season. I mean, he's got starts over against the Rays, the Guardians, the Yankees, and the Orioles. So pretty tough teams. It's not a shock to see that the White Sox have only gone 1-3 in his 4 starts this season. So we don't exactly expect miracles out of this guy. He didn't look good his last time out, and he's not going deep into games, so that's kind of a concern. And looking at the Chicago White Sox offense, obviously, big concern there because they are the worst offense in baseball. Not going to exactly waste a ton of time here talking about the White Sox offense. It is absolutely abysmal. Looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see the Toronto Blue Jays are -200. The White Sox are +190. We've got an over-under in this game of 8.5, with both teams showing some semi-significant trends towards the under, but I don't think we're too interested in the under in this game, guys. We're either going to be on the Blue Jays -200 or the Blue Jays -1.5. If you take the -1.5, it looks like you can get them around -120 or -130. So I think leaning towards the Blue Jays -1.5 will be the way that we go. I mean, Gausman is a solid starter. We have a lot of questions about Clevenger, and obviously we don't think we're going to see anything out of the White Sox offense on a general basis. So go ahead and give me the Blue Jays -1.5 in this game. Will it end up in the pinned comment 2 games in a row here? We'll just have to wait and see. Seems like maybe it's slightly unlikely, but I definitely think it's a good value play. Next on the docket, guys, we got the Cleveland Guardians going on the road to take on the Colorado Rockies. We saw Cleveland take the loss there in game 1 of this series. That can't feel great. They are 36-18 on the season, so that's pretty nice. Handing the ball in this game to Tristan McKenzie, who's 2-3 on the year with a 3.44 ERA, coming off of a decent but not elite start against the New York Mets. I mean, he went 5 innings, gave 3 earned runs on 5 hits. He gave 3 home runs in that game. Like, take out those mistakes and it'd be a great outing. But yeah, this guy definitely makes some mistakes just in general. I mean, he's had 3, 4, 3, 3, and 1 walks over his last 5 starts. Like, can't exactly count on this guy's control being super crisp. He's got good stuff out there for sure, though. I mean, his start back on the 17th against the Twins, he looked very good. 6 2/3 innings, only a single earned run on 2 hits, but he gave up a home run in that game as well, guys. Over his last 5 games, he's given up 5, 1, 0, 1, and 1 home runs. Like, you can pretty much pencil this guy in for giving up a home run. At least that's what it feels like to me. And looking at the Cleveland Guardians offense lately, I mean, they did just go on that long winning streak that was just snapped in this first game of this series. They've looked pretty good over the course of the year. Things have slowed down for them a bit lately, though, for sure. I mean, they came alive against the Mets and the Angels. We can only give you so much credit for doing well against those caliber of teams. And then they didn't look good in game 1 of this series. I mean, they scored 6 runs, so not terrible, don't get me wrong. So we'll just have to wait and see what we actually get out of this offense. But looking at the Rockies for this one, they've now won 2 in a row and 3 of their last 4 overall. They're only 19-34 on the season, so not going to freak out about how the Rockies are looking. They're handing the ball in this game to Ryan Feltner, who's 1-4 on the season with a 5.07 ERA. He's coming off of his best start of the year by far in a game against the Oakland A's, where he went 6 innings, gave up no runs, 4 hits, struck out 6, and walked 2. But it's a game we saw his team lose in 11 innings. They lost 10-9, so that has to be pretty deflating when you pitch that well and then get that kind of result. But yeah, he's had his bright moments this season, but definitely his best start has been here against the Oakland A's, his last time out. So maybe he's in a little bit of a letdown spot, guys, and the Rockies offense is definitely in a letdown spot after scoring 8 runs, but they've shown they can put up some runs here. And I mean, if you're going to be playing in Coors Field, you would hope you could at least put up some sort of runs. This team is 10th in the majors in batting average, but that's kind of where their elite offensive numbers end. They're 20th in the majors in on-base percentage, 23rd in runs scored. Like, not an offense that I'm super scared of. The odds makers aren't that scared of them either. I mean, they've got the Guardians at -142, the Rockies at +130, and we've got an over-under in this game of 10. Looking at these teams, I mean, we see Cleveland is 18-12 on the road. Like, that's very respectable. The Rockies are 12-11 at home, though, so that's not nothing. We see both teams showing some trends towards the over, so if you wanted to take a look at over 10, I mean, that seems a little aggressive with both pitchers possibly to have good starts here. So in general, guys, I'm going to lean towards the Guardians -142 to bounce back and get a win in Game 2 of this series, but this is not going anywhere near the pinned comment for me. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at the New York Yankees going on the road here to take on the Los Angeles Angels. They just lost in Game 3 to the San Diego Padres. They lost Game 3 of that series 5-2, so not ideal, but at 37-18, they're going to be okay. They're handing the ball in this game to Nestor Cortez, who's 3-4 on the year with a 3.29 ERA, coming off a great start against the Mariners. He went 5 innings, gave 3 hits and no runs while walking 3 and striking out 6. He's looked very, very good over his last 2 starts. I mean, the first one was against the White Sox, so like kind of take that one with a grain of salt, but in general, against mediocre hitting teams, he's looked very, very good, and the Yankees are not a mediocre hitting team themselves, guys. This is one of the best offenses in the majors. They're up to 3rd in the majors in runs scored. Aaron Judge has been absolutely killing the ball lately. They're 3rd in the majors in batting average, 1st in on-base percentage, and 1st in slugging percentage. Like, this is an absolutely elite offensive team, and over their last 5 games, they scored 2, 4, 8, 5, and 7 runs, respectively. So this is a team we can definitely look at as capable of putting up a bunch of runs, and they're going up against an Angels team that hasn't necessarily been doing that lately. They just got swept by the Cleveland Guardians. They are 20-33 on the season. Handing the ball is giving it to Griffin Canning, who's 2-4 on the year with a 5.05 ERA. He is coming off of 4 straight very solid starts, though, guys. I mean, his last time out, he went 5 innings, gave up 2 earned runs on 5 hits against the Astros. That's not terrible. He did give up 2 home runs, so not great there. I mean, if you're giving up home runs and now you're about to face the Yankees, things can get pretty dark pretty quick. The start before that was just against the Cardinals. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits and 1 run. He also gave up a home run in that game. Against the Royals, he looked very good. Against Cleveland, he looked very good. He kind of got knocked around by the Phillies, but that was all the way back in last month, so we're not really going to be taking that too much into account. The Angels' offense in general, guys, has looked kind of mediocre. I mean, they scored 4, 3, and 4 runs in their series where they got swept by the Cleveland Guardians. They didn't look incredible in the series against the Houston Astros, so this team is not swinging the hottest bats right now. Not super pumped about that. And looking at the numbers for this game, guys, the odds makers are pretty high on the Yankees. They've got them at -170. The Angels are +154. And we've got an over-under in this game of 8.5. Guys, we're going to be on the Yankees in this one, based at least partially on the fact that the Angels are only 6-19 at home this season. The Yankees have no problem winning games on the road. They're 19-10 on the road. So go ahead and give me the Yankees -170. I think this is a reasonable price. Not quite brave enough to take them against the run line. So we're going to end up here on the money line with them -170 with a solid chance to end up in the pinned comment. We'll just see if there's any picks that we like better to see if it makes the cut. Moving into the home stretch here, guys, we've got the Houston Astros going on the road to take on the Seattle Mariners. These two teams are actually playing right now, guys. We see Seattle up 3-2 there in the bottom of the 7th inning. So Seattle in a decent spot to get this win, but still a lot of baseball to be played before we see who officially comes away with this win. But the Astros have definitely been trending in a positive direction lately. They're up to 24-29 on the season, and they're only a little bit off the pace there behind Seattle in the AL West. They're handing the ball in this game to Christian Javier, who's 3-1 on the season. He's coming back off the IL. He had some forearm discomfort. He didn't throw his scheduled bullpen on Sunday, so that's a little bit of a concern, a little bit of a red flag for us coming into this game. I mean, his last start, he only went 4 innings, got knocked around by the Angels. Start before that was fantastic, but yeah, he's definitely had some inconsistency, some issues this season, and no way around that, really. We'll actually have to just see what what goes on with him in this game. There's definitely a reality where he doesn't even make this start. So definitely stay locked in on what actually comes down, what kind of news comes out here. The Astros bats in general are trending in a positive direction. They're still 10th in the majors in runs scored, still first in batting average. Like, this is a very, very good hitting team that just had some bad luck in the early goings and is turning things around now. I do expect big things out of them here down the stretch. And I mean, they're taking on an opponent that has been very hard to score runs against in the Seattle Mariners. I mean, Seattle comes into this game, they're not having the best time. It looks like they've got a solid chance to win their current game in game 1 of this series, but not having an amazing time. They're handing the ball in this game to Luis Castillo, who's not had a great time lately at all. He's down to 4-6 in the season with a 3.31 ERA, and yeah, he's coming off a game where he looked very good against the Yankees. Maybe very good is a bit of an overstatement. I mean, 5 innings, he gave 7 hits and only 2 earned runs, so he pitched himself out of trouble, but he also gave up 2 home runs in that game, so that's not great. Start before that, he also didn't do incredible. I mean, pretty good. If you go 6 innings and hold the Orioles to only 2 runs and don't give up any home runs to them, that's pretty good, but he walked 4 in that game, so that's not great. He's just been a little bit all over the place lately, and yeah, you have to be very good as a starter for the Seattle Mariners if you want to get them wins, because their offense is not great, guys. This is definitely a bottom third of the majors offense, maybe even worse than that. Like, not great. 27th in runs scored, 27th in on-base percentage, getting on base at a 297 clip. They did score 9 runs in Game 3 against the Washington Nationals, but that was to snap a 4-game losing streak. This is just not a team that I'm super high on right now, and looking at the numbers for this game, it's kind of hard to pick a side, really. I mean, we've got the Astros at plus 110, the Mariners at minus 124, and we've got an over-under in this game of only 7.5, so the odds makers are expecting both starters to look pretty good. We do see Seattle is 10-15 at home, and Houston is only 8-14 on the road, and there's a lot of weirdness surrounding the Houston starter, so we're going to go ahead and side with the Mariners minus 124 in this game. This is not going in the pinned comment. Way too many unknowns still swirling about this one, but I do think Seattle is in a decent spot here if we can get a little bit of clarity about who's going to be on the mound for the Astros. If it ends up being Christian Javier, this would have a borderline shot to end up in the pinned comment, I think. Last but not least, guys, we're looking at the Miami Marlins going on the road to take on the San Diego Padres. The Marlins come into this game fresh off of a 2-1 loss in Game 1 of this series, so that has to sting a little bit. They're only 19-36 on the season, though, so I would assume these losses are not really stinging too bad anymore. They're handing the ball in this game to Jesus Luzardo, who's off to a 2-3 start with a 4.14 ERA. His last 2 starts, guys, have been borderline brilliant. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, no runs while striking out 7 and walking 0 against the New York Mets. Obviously not the hardest hitting team, guys, so, maybe we can just be like, oh, not that great of a start. It's against a terrible opponent. But he followed that up, guys, with an absolute gem against the Milwaukee Brewers. He went 8 innings, gave up 3 hits, and struck out 4 while walking none, allowing 0 runs to the Milwaukee Brewers. That is a very, very good start. So the guy is throwing the ball fantastic right now. It seems like it's just a question of whether or not he can get some run support, which is kind of a big ask with this Marlins offense, guys. Over the last few games, let's take a look here. They've scored 1, 3, 2, 3, 1. Like, this is not a good offensive team. No way around it. Not swinging very hot bats. Over the course of the season, they've been terrible. They're getting on base at a 290 clip. Guess where that puts them in the majors, guys? 29th. Like, this is not a good offense. 29th in on-base percentage, 29th in slugging percentage, 28th in runs scored. Just not a good offense. And they're taking on a team that really looks like they should be a good offense on paper in the San Diego Padres. They've now won 2 in a row. They're only 29-28 on the season, though, so they really are struggling to find a consistent, good streak to get them out of, the struggles they've had here in the early season. They're handing the ball in this game to Matt Waldron, who's 2-5 on the year with a 4.86 ERA. He's coming off of, I would say, 3 very reasonable starts, guys. I mean, his last time out against the Brewers, he gave up 2 earned runs over 5 innings. Start before that against the Atlanta Braves, he struck out 10, gave up only a single earned run over 5 2/3. And the start before that against the Dodgers, back before the Dodgers were having their crazy slump, he went 5 1/3, gave up only 2 earned runs on 2 hits while striking out 6. This guy has looked pretty good out there, and he's taking on a team that isn't super elite offensively, and the Padres, man, they're not looking super elite offensively. Don't get me wrong, on paper, they really should be, but it just doesn't feel like it, guys. They scored 2, 5, 1, and 0 runs over the last 4 games. Not amazing. They are 8th in the majors in runs scored, 5th in the majors in batting average, 6th in the majors getting on base at a 322 clip. I would expect this offense to be pretty good, but they just haven't looked good, and they're taking on what's looking like an elite young pitcher on quite the heater right here. So, guys, this is a tough game to figure out. You see both of these teams showing trends towards the over, and we see an over-under of only 7.5, but Man, I've got very little faith in either side on this game, guys. I mean, if you're forcing me to bet it, I guess giving the Padres minus 118 because they should be the better team on paper, and they're playing at home, but they haven't been great at home, but the Marlins have been terrible on the road, so I don't know. Slight lean towards me for the Padres in this game, but I will not be betting this game myself. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out stumpthespread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.